The peaceful colony of New Eden sparkled under the light of Proxima Centauri. Dr. Jaiwo Park finished her work in the xenobiology lab. After 6 years on this distant world, she had grown to love its strange lifeforms and the community of 2 million humans who called it home. Jaiwo checked her samples of native microorganisms. These tiny creatures had adapted to the planet's unique conditions over billions of years. She carefully sealed the container and made notes in her log. Tomorrow would bring more discoveries. The first tremor shook the lab suddenly. Equipment rattled on tables. Warning sirens began to wail across the colony. Jaiwo looked up from her work, confused and alarmed. "What's happening?" she asked aloud, though no one was there to answer. She rushed to the window. What she saw made her blood freeze. Massive ships hung in the sky above the colony. Their dark hulls reflected the red light of Proxima Centauri. They were not human ships. Nothing in Earth's fleet looked like these massive vessels. The colony-wide emergency channel activated with a soft chime. "Attention all personnel," came the steady voice of Colony Director Do-hyun Kim. "Unidentified ships have entered orbit and are not responding to our messages. All citizens must report to emergency shelters immediately." Jaiwo grabbed her research tablet and emergency pack. As she headed for the door, a blinding flash lit up the sky. The first energy beam struck the colony center. The administrative building vanished in an instant, along with Director Kim and hundreds of others. The second beam cut through the residential sectors like a knife. From her lab at the edge of the colony, Jaiwo watched in horror. The attack was systematic and precise. These unknown aliens were not just attacking, they were erasing New Eden from existence. Jaiwo ran to the communications console. Her hands shook as she activated the quantum channel to Earth. "This is Dr. Jaiwo Park of New Eden Colony," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We are under attack by unknown forces with advanced weapons. They're destroying everything. 2 million colonists are in danger. Please send help immediately." Her message sent just before another blast severed the main communications array. The backup systems would hold her message in queue until the channel cleared, but would Earth receive it in time? Outside, the destruction continued. People ran screaming as buildings collapsed. The colony's small defense ships launched but were quickly destroyed. They had been designed to handle pirates or emergencies, not a full military assault. Jaiwo knew she had to preserve what information she could. She quickly downloaded colony records and her research data. Then she collected sample containers of the planet's organisms. Someone needed to tell Earth what had happened here. The small research shuttle sat in its bay near her lab. It wasn't meant for long journeys, but it had a basic FTL drive for research missions to nearby star systems. Jaiwo loaded her samples and data, then launched the shuttle. As she climbed away from the surface, Jaiwo could see the full extent of the attack. The colony was being methodically destroyed sector by sector. Defense outposts, communication arrays, power plants, all targeted with precision. These attackers knew exactly what they were doing. From orbit, she watched through tears as the last human structures on New Eden were reduced to ash. 2 million lives snuffed out in less than an hour. Families, children, researchers, farmers, all gone. The alien ships, belonging to what she would later learn was called the Hegemony, moved in formation around the planet. Their work completed, they began to depart. Jaiwo kept her shuttle systems in low-power mode to avoid detection as she drifted behind one of Proxima Centauri B's small moons. When the last enemy ship disappeared into FTL, Jaiwo set a course for Earth. The journey would take weeks in her small shuttle, and supplies would be tight. But someone had to deliver the news. Someone had to tell Earth what had happened. As New Eden shrank in her viewscreen, Jaiwo made a silent promise to the millions who had died. Earth would know what happened here. And she would make sure these attackers faced justice for what they had done. What she didn't know was that her message had already reached Earth through the quantum network. And humanity's response would change the galaxy forever. The quantum message from Dr. Jaiwo Park reached Earth 18 hours after the destruction of New Eden Colony. It arrived at the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva at 3:47 a.m. local time. General Miho Khan was awakened by the emergency alert. He had been in charge of Earth's defense forces for 15 years. In that time, humanity had expanded to 12 star systems without major incident. This attack changed everything. "Play the message again," Miho ordered as his senior staff gathered in the command center. Dr. Park's desperate voice filled the room once more. The transmission ended with sounds of destruction before cutting off completely. Satellite data confirmed total loss of the colony. 2 million human lives extinguished. "Contact the Secretary General," Miho said quietly. "The full council needs to meet immediately." Within 3 hours, the United Earth Government Council had assembled. Representatives from all Earth nations and off-world colonies joined either in person or via secure channels. The mood was grim as the evidence was presented. Secretary General Suman Lee stood at the center of the chamber. She had led Earth through a decade of peace and expansion. "What are our options?" she asked. Admiral Tae-woo Han stepped forward. His face showed no emotion, but everyone knew his grandson had been among the colonists. "Madam Secretary, we have maintained our military strength in secret for decades," he said. "While we presented ourselves to the galaxy as peaceful explorers, we built the largest fleet in human history." Screens around the chamber displayed classified images that few in the room had seen before. Massive shipyards orbiting Jupiter and Saturn. Hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. The true extent of Earth's military preparations was revealed. 700,000 warships, Admiral Han continued. From small fighters to dreadnoughts. All equipped with our latest technologies. We built them hoping never to use them. But now we must. The council chamber fell silent. Even those who knew about the defense program had not realized its true scale. "Can we identify who attacked us?" asked the African Union representative. "Based on Dr. Park's transmission and the attack pattern, our intelligence suggests it was the hegemony," answered Intelligence Director Jisoo Yoon. "A collection of alien species that controls much of the region beyond our current exploration zone. They likely see our expansion as a threat." Debates erupted across the chamber. Some councilors advocated for diplomacy first. Others demanded immediate military action. Tae-woo Han stood silent until Secretary Lee called for order. 2 million civilians, Han said when the room quieted. Men, women, children. Researchers, teachers, farmers. Not soldiers. Not a threat. They were erased to send us a message. We must now send one in return. Images of the destroyed colony appeared on the screens. Satellite feeds showed nothing remained of the once thriving settlement. The council members watched in horror. "I propose we deploy the full fleet," said Han. "Show these hegemony forces that humanity will not be threatened or contained. We must make it clear that attacking humans has consequences." The debate lasted for hours. By evening, the vote was called. The result was unanimous. Earth would respond with overwhelming force. That night, hidden shipyards throughout the solar system activated their full production capacity. Reserve soldiers and officers were called to duty. Ships that had been maintained in secret for decades were prepared for combat. Admiral Han was given command of what the media quickly named the Retribution Fleet. In his quarters, he looked at a photo of his grandson, Juno, who had been working as a teacher on New Eden. "We will make this right," he whispered to the image. Across Earth and its colonies, the news spread. Humanity had suffered its first interstellar attack. The response would be unprecedented. 3 days later, Admiral Han stood on the bridge of the flagship UES Justice as the massive fleet assembled near Jupiter. Ships stretched as far as the eye could see. 700,000 vessels of various sizes, each with a specific role in the coming campaign. "Admiral, all fleet components report ready for departure," said his executive officer. Han nodded. "Send the order. We depart for hegemony space in 1 hour." As the fleet prepared to leave the solar system, a small scout ship arrived with unexpected news. A survivor had been found. Dr. Jaiwo Park had escaped in a research shuttle. she was being brought to the fleet immediately. Han looked out at the massive armada. With Dr. Park's first-hand knowledge and Earth's overwhelming force, they would ensure that what happened at New Eden would never happen again. The greatest military force in human history was about to make itself known to the galaxy. The massive human fleet moved away from Earth's solar system in perfect formation. 700,000 ships of various sizes formed a sphere 500 kilometers across. At the center flew the flagship UES Justice, carrying Admiral Tae-woo Han and the fleet command. Captain Minji Kong stood on the bridge of the destroyer UES Vindication, watching the fleet's holographic display. She had served in Earth's space forces for 15 years but had never seen anything like this. Ships stretched in every direction, their engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. Prepare for FTL transition, Minji ordered her crew. Synchronize with fleet command. The journey to hegemony space would take 3 months even with their fastest drives. The fleet would make several stops along the way to rest crews and check systems. 2 days into the journey, Fleet Communications reported an unexpected discovery. A small research shuttle had been found drifting near the fleet's path. Inside was Dr. Jae-woo Park, the lone survivor of New Eden Colony. After medical treatment, Dr. Park was brought to the flagship. Admiral Han personally greeted her in the medical bay. "Dr. Park, I'm Admiral Han," he said gently. "You're the only one who saw what happened. We need your help." Jae-woo's eyes were hollow from what she had witnessed, but her voice was steady. "I'll tell you everything I know about the attackers." Over the next week, Jae-woo shared her observations with fleet intelligence. She described the hegemony ships, their weapons, and attack patterns. Engineers and tactical officers studied her data carefully, making adjustments to their battle plans. They didn't expect resistance, Jae-woo explained during a briefing with fleet commanders. The colony had minimal defenses. They probably think all of humanity is the same. Captain Minji attended the briefing via hologram from her ship. "So they have no idea what's coming for them," she said. "None," Jae-woo confirmed. "They destroyed New Eden to send a message. They don't realize what kind of response they've triggered." The fleet continued its journey through space. Crews trained daily for the coming conflict. Ships ran battle drills and weapons tests in empty regions between stars. 1 month into their journey, long-range sensors detected the first hegemony presence, a small outpost on a remote moon. Admiral Han ordered the fleet to bypass it without engagement. They would save their strength for larger targets. At the 2-month mark, they entered what intelligence identified as hegemony-claimed space. Here, they encountered their first challenge, a patrol group of 15 hegemony warships guarding a major transit route. On the Vindication, Captain Minji called her crew to battle stations as the alert came through. "All hands prepare for possible engagement. Weapons systems online but hold fire until ordered." The hegemony patrol detected the human fleet and immediately transmitted a message: "Unidentified vessels, you have entered protected space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose or be fired upon." Admiral Han's response was broadcast from the flagship. "This is Admiral Tae-woo Han of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We are responding to your unprovoked attack on our colony. Stand down or be destroyed." The hegemony commander seemed confused by the response. Their ships moved into attack formation, clearly not understanding the true size of the human fleet. They could only detect the vanguard, a tiny fraction of Earth's armada. "They're charging weapons," reported Minji's tactical officer. "Defensive posture," she ordered. "Shields at maximum." The hegemony ships fired first, energy beams lancing through space toward the human vanguard. The attacks splashed harmlessly against advanced shields. Not a single human vessel took damage. Admiral Han gave a simple order: disable their ships. Capture survivors for questioning. Captain Minji's Vindication led the response. Her ship's weapons targeted the largest enemy vessel's propulsion systems. Throughout the fleet, 50 ships engaged the 15 hegemony vessels. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it ended, 12 hegemony ships drifted powerless in space. 3 had been destroyed when their captains attempted suicide runs against the human vessels. "Dispatch boarding teams," Admiral Han ordered. Dr. Park, please assist with translation. The captured hegemony officers were brought aboard the flagship for questioning. Dr. Park helped the intelligence teams communicate with them. The aliens were stunned when shown the true size of the human fleet. "This is impossible," one hegemony commander said through the translator. "Your species was deemed non-threatening. Our reports indicated minimal military capability." "Your reports were wrong," Admiral Han replied simply. As the fleet continued its journey deeper into hegemony space, news of the encounter spread ahead of them. Panicked messages flew between hegemony worlds as they realized their terrible mistake. The remaining month of the journey saw no further resistance. The few hegemony ships they encountered fled immediately upon detecting the human fleet. By the time they approached the hegemony capital system of Tulaner, Earth's message had been received: humanity was not to be trifled with. The hegemony capital system of Tulaner fell silent as Earth's massive fleet arrived. 700,000 warships appeared at the system's edge in perfect formation. They moved methodically into position, surrounding the 5 inhabited planets and dozens of space stations that formed the heart of hegemony power. On the flagship UES Justice, Admiral Tae-Woo Han stood before the main viewport. The central planet of Tulaner Prime filled the screen, a blue-green world not unlike Earth, but with 3 small moons orbiting close by. "All ships in position, Admiral," reported his executive officer. Han nodded. "Begin broadcasting on all frequencies. Use the translation protocols Dr. Park provided." In the Hegemony Grand Council chamber on Tulaner Prime, 17 alien representatives from the member species gathered in emergency session. The massive human fleet had appeared with no warning, far larger than anything they had believed possible. Elder diplomat Suan Jong, one of the few who had opposed the attack on New Eden, addressed the panicked council. "We have made a terrible mistake. These humans are not the simple colonists we thought them to be." The main communication screen activated, showing Admiral Han's stern face. His message was broadcast to every device in the system. "I am Admiral Tae-Woo Han of Earth. Your forces destroyed our colony at Proxima Centauri without warning or provocation. 2 million innocent civilians were killed. This was an act of genocide against our people. We demand the immediate surrender of those responsible and preparation for full reparations. You have 6 hours to comply, or we will respond in kind." The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. War Commander Dong-hee Park slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot surrender to these newcomers. The hegemony has ruled this region for 1,000 years. Did you see the size of their fleet?" Elder Suan asked calmly. "We have perhaps 40,000 ships in the entire hegemony. They have 17 times that number in a single fleet." As the council argued, Dr. Jaiwo Park worked with the Human Diplomatic Corps aboard the Justice. Having studied xenobiology, she had insights into hegemony psychology and culture. "They respect strength above all," she explained to the diplomatic team. "But they also have a concept similar to our face-saving. We need to give them a way to surrender that preserves some dignity." Captain Minji Khan prepared her crew aboard the Vindication. Her destroyer was positioned near one of Tulaner's orbital defense platforms. "All hands remain at battle stations. Watch those defense arrays carefully." The 6-hour deadline approached. On Tulaner Prime, the council remained divided. Elder Suan led the faction pushing for immediate compliance with human demands. War Commander Dong-hee argued for resistance. "Better to die fighting than live as slaves," Dong-hee declared. "No one is asking us to be slaves," Suan countered. "They want justice for their murdered colonists. Would we not demand the same?" With 30 minutes remaining before the deadline, Dong-hee made his move. He left the council chamber with his supporters and transmitted orders to the military units under his command. "The humans must learn that the hegemony does not bow to threats," he told his captains. "Prepare 300 ships for immediate attack. Target their flagship first." On the Vindication, Minji's tactical officer called out, "Captain! Multiple energy signatures. Hegemony vessels powering weapons and breaking orbit." Similar alerts sounded across the human fleet. Admiral Han received the reports calmly. So they've made their choice. Sir, his communications officer interrupted, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. Someone named Elder Suwan claims the departing ships are acting against Council orders. Understood, Han replied. Broadcast to all ships, defensive response only. Disable rather than destroy when possible. 300 hegemony warships accelerated toward the human fleet. They focused on a single section, hoping to break through and strike at the flagship. Captain Minji's Vindication moved to intercept along with her battle group. Target their propulsion and weapons only, she ordered. Let's show them what we can do. The hegemony ships fired first. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human vessels. Advanced shields absorbed or deflected most attacks. A few smaller human ships took minor damage, but none were destroyed. The human response was precise and overwhelming. Targeted energy pulses disabled hegemony ships one after another. Some vessels lost power, others spun out of control as their engines failed. Within 20 minutes, half the attacking force drifted helplessly in space. War Commander Donghe watched in disbelief from his flagship. Impossible, he whispered as another wave of his ships went dark. He had never seen such technological superiority. When only 30 hegemony ships remained operational, Admiral Han broadcast again, this demonstration is complete. Return to your world or be disabled like your companions. The remaining ships retreated. The battle was over without a single human vessel lost. On Tulaner Prime, Elder Suwan watched the brief conflict with grim satisfaction. Now the Council would listen. Contact the humans, he told the communication officers. Tell Admiral Han the Hegemony Council is ready to meet his demands. Elder Suwan Zhong walked slowly through the Grand Hall of the Hegemony Council. Today, the ancient chamber would witness something unprecedented, the formal surrender of the hegemony to Earth terms. Behind him followed 6 council members in chains, including War Commander Donghe Park. They had been identified as the ones who ordered the attack on New Eden. Admiral Taewoo Han waited at the center of the hall. His uniform was simple compared to the elaborate robes of the hegemony leaders, but his presence commanded the room. Dr. Jaiwo Park stood beside him as translator and advisor. In accordance with your demands, we surrender those responsible for the attack on your colony, Elder Suwan said, his voice echoing in the quiet hall. They will face your justice. Admiral Han nodded. This is only the beginning. We will now discuss the terms of peace. For 3 days, representatives from Earth and the 17 hegemony species worked to create a new treaty. Captain Minji Kong attended the meetings, offering insight from a military perspective. Dr. Park provided cultural understanding that helped bridge gaps between the different species. On the 4th day, the Proxima Accords were ready for signing. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from all hegemony worlds and human diplomats from the fleet. Secretary General Suman Lee had arrived from Earth through a fast courier to personally sign the treaty. She addressed the gathered aliens with firm words. What happened at New Eden cannot be undone. 2 million lives were lost because you saw us as weak. That mistake will not be repeated. But humans do not seek only revenge. We seek a lasting peace. The terms of the treaty were clear. The hegemony acknowledged humanity's right to settle any unclaimed worlds. A demilitarized zone would be established between human and hegemony space. Reparations would be paid to Earth over 50 years. And most importantly, a permanent human defense force would remain in former hegemony territory to ensure compliance. As the treaty was signed, Captain Minji stood near the back of the hall. She thought about the brief battle they had fought and how one-sided it had been. Earth's technology had advanced rapidly during its decades of isolation, surpassing the hegemony in almost every way. Was it hard? Asked a young hegemony diplomat standing nearby. Holding back during the battle? Minji looked at him curiously. We've reviewed the combat data, the diplomat explained. Your ships could have destroyed our entire fleet in minutes, but you disabled them instead. Admiral Han wanted to make a point, not destroy your civilization, Minji replied. Humans can be merciful, even after what you did. After the signing ceremony, Admiral Han announced his selection for the commander of the Permanent Human Defense Force. Captain Minji Khan would be promoted to admiral and given command of 100,000 ships that would remain in hegemony space. Your restraint during the battle showed wisdom beyond your years, Han told her privately. We need that quality in the person who will represent humanity here. Dr. Jaiwol Park was appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the reformed hegemony. During the formal announcement, she addressed both humans and aliens. I watched New Eden burn, she said, her voice steady. I saw what fear and misunderstanding can do. As ambassador, I will work to ensure such tragedy never happens again. We can build something better from these ashes. The Hegemony Council was restructured with Elder Suwon as its new leader. The militarists who had dominated for centuries were removed from power. Under the treaty terms, hegemony warships were limited in size and number, with regular inspections by human observers. 1 month after the treaty signing, most of Earth's massive fleet prepared to return home. Admiral Han stood on the observation deck of the Justice, watching his ships formed up for departure. Ambassador Park joined him there. What do you think? She asked. Will this peace last? Han looked out at the stars. It will if we remain strong. The hegemony respected only power. Now they've seen ours. And the war criminals? She asked. They'll face trial on Earth. Justice for 2 million dead. As the main fleet departed, leaving Admiral Minji's defense force behind, a new era began in the galaxy. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as explorers or victims, but as a dominant power that could not be ignored. On Earth, memorials were built for New Eden's lost colonists. Their names were inscribed on monuments in every major city. Their sacrifice had forever changed humanity's place among the stars. In her new office on Talaner Prime, Ambassador Jaiwol Park placed a small container on her desk. Inside was a sample of microorganisms from New Eden, the last living pieces of the world she had called home. Life that had survived when all else was lost. Like these tiny organisms, humanity had not only survived but would now thrive among the stars.